The text came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of a client presentation when my phone buzzed against the conference table. I ignored it, as any professional would, and continued walking the marketing team through the quarterly projections. But something made me glance at it during the break. "Mom, don't call or come over. We're done. You're no longer part of this family." My fingers hovered over the screen. No context, no explanation, just a cold, final declaration from the woman who'd raised me, who'd braided my hair for school pictures, who'd stayed up helping me rehearse for the lead role in my high school musical. I typed back, "Got it." 2 words. That's all I gave her. Because if she wanted to cut me off without explanation, I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to grovel. The presentation suddenly felt meaningless. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. But I finished it anyway, my voice steady even as my hands trembled. That evening, I tried calling. Voicemail. I tried my dad. Voicemail. My younger brother Jason. Nothing. It was as if my entire family had decided in unison to erase me from existence. For 3 days, I functioned on autopilot. Work, gym, apartment, sleep. Repeat. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself that if they wanted to play this game, I could play it better. But on the 4th day, my best friend Rachel showed up at my door with wine and answers. "I saw your mom at the grocery store," she said, pushing past me into my apartment. "Lily, I think you need to see something." She pulled out her phone and showed me my mother's Facebook page. There, in crisp, high-definition photos, was my entire family at Jason's engagement party. A party I knew nothing about. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. In photo after photo, standing where I should have been, was my cousin Melissa. Melissa with her arm around my mother. Melissa laughing with my father. Melissa holding up a champagne glass in a toast. And in every caption, my mother referred to her as my daughter, our girl, the light of our lives. I scrolled back through the posts. They went back 6 months. 6 months of family dinners, weekend trips, holidays, all with Melissa inserted into my place like I'd never existed. "There's more," Rachel said quietly. She showed me text screenshots that Melissa had apparently been bragging about to mutual friends. Screenshots that revealed a calculated, methodical destruction of my relationship with my family. It had started a year ago when I'd gotten the promotion to Senior Director of Marketing at Hartwell & Associates. Melissa, who'd been struggling to keep her small graphic design business afloat, had watched my success with increasing bitterness. We'd been close once, but I'd noticed her pulling away, making snide comments about my corporate sellout lifestyle. What I hadn't known was that she'd started a campaign of lies. She'd told my mother I'd said she was embarrassingly lower class compared to my new colleagues. She'd shown my father fake text messages where I allegedly complained about being stuck visiting them. She'd convinced Jason that I'd tried to sabotage his relationship with his fiancée out of jealousy. Each lie was carefully crafted, each piece of evidence meticulously faked. And the final blow, she'd told them all that I'd gotten engaged and deliberately excluded them from my life because I was ashamed of my mediocre family. She'd even created fake social media accounts showing me with a fictitious fiancé, living a glamorous life that looked down on my roots. My parents, already insecure about the class differences between their blue-collar background and my white-collar career, had believed every word. They'd been hurt, then angry, then finally done. And Melissa had been right there to comfort them, to fill the daughter-shaped hole with herself. I sat on my couch, staring at the evidence, and felt something cold and hard crystallize in my chest. Not heat, not the burning rage you read about in books. This was ice, This was clarity. "What are you going to do?" Rachel asked. I looked up at her. "I'm going to get my family back, and I'm going to make sure Melissa pays for every single lie." "Lily, she didn't just hurt me, Rachel. She stole a year of my life with my family. She made my mother hate me. She poisoned every relationship I hold sacred." I stood up, my mind already racing through possibilities. I'm not going to sink to her level. I'm going to be smarter. The first thing I did was hire a private investigator. Marcus Chen was ex-FBI, recommended by a colleague who'd used him during a messy divorce. I gave him everything: Melissa's lies, the timeline, the fake accounts. "Give me 2 weeks," he said. It took him 10 days. Marcus discovered that Melissa hadn't just targeted me. She'd been running a sophisticated scam, using her family connections to infiltrate the social circles I'd introduced her to years ago. She'd convinced 3 of my former colleagues to invest in her expanding design business with promises of guaranteed returns and my supposed endorsement. She'd taken their money, over $70,000 combined, and produced almost nothing. She'd also been catfishing a man she'd met through one of my industry events, pretending to be me in initial conversations before revealing her real identity. She'd gotten him to pay for an expensive vacation under false pretenses. But the most damning discovery was that Melissa had been funneling money from my parents. She'd convinced them to take out a second mortgage on their house to help her invest in a commercial property for her business. The property didn't exist. She'd pocketed $40,000 of their retirement savings. My parents, who'd worked double shifts their entire lives. My father, who still drove a truck at 63. My mother, who'd never once bought herself new clothes without checking every clearance rack first. They'd given Melissa their nest egg, and she'd stolen it while simultaneously destroying their relationship with their actual daughter. I sat in Marcus's office, looking at the evidence spread across his desk, and knew exactly what I had to do. "This is enough for criminal charges," Marcus said. "Wire fraud, identity theft, possibly more." "Not yet," I said. "First, I need to talk to my family." I didn't call. I didn't text. I showed up at Sunday dinner, the ritual I'd been attending every week for 27 years, until Melissa had poisoned it. My mother answered the door. For a moment, I saw confusion, then pain, then her expression hardened into the cold mask I'd seen in that text message. "I told you we're done," she said. "I know you did, but I need you to give me 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes, and if you still want me to leave after that, I'll go and I won't come back." I held up a manila folder. "I have something you need to see." "Jean, who is it?" My father's voice came from the living room. My mother's jaw clenched, but she stepped aside. In the living room, I found my entire family: Dad, Jason, his fiancée Emma, and of course, Melissa, looking perfectly comfortable in my spot on the couch. Melissa's face went white when she saw me. "What's she doing here?" Jason demanded. "Giving you the truth," I said. I opened the folder and began laying out documents on the coffee table. "For the past year, Melissa has been lying to all of you about me. But more than that, she's been stealing from you." "This is insane." Melissa started to stand. "Sit down," I said, my voice like steel. "Or I call the police right now and have you arrested for wire fraud." She sat. I walked them through everything. The fake social media accounts. I showed them the metadata Marcus had pulled, proving Melissa had created them. The doctored text messages. I had the originals on my phone, showing how she'd manipulated screenshots. Every lie, every manipulation, laid out in black and white. My mother's hand went to her mouth as she read through the evidence. But then I showed them the financial documents, the investment scam with my colleagues, the catfishing scheme, and finally, the truth about their second mortgage. The commercial property doesn't exist, I said quietly. Melissa took your $40,000, Mom and Dad. She stole your retirement while convincing you to hate me. My father stood up slowly, his face purple. Melissa! She was crying now, shaking her head. It's not. It was supposed to be real. I was going to pay them back. You just what? My mother's voice was shaking. You destroyed our family for money? You made me hate my daughter? Melissa's voice broke into sobs. You don't understand what it's like watching her succeed while I'm failing. She had everything, and I had nothing, and it wasn't fair. So you decided to take everything from me? I said. My family, my reputation, my parents, savings? Jason was staring at the documents, his face ashen. The things you told me about Lily and Emma, those were all lies? Melissa didn't answer. She was hunched over, crying into her hands. My mother crossed the room and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I let myself cry then, all the pain and loneliness of the past months pouring out. My father joined the embrace, then Jason, all of us holding each other while Melissa sobbed alone on the couch. I'm calling the police, my father said finally, pulling back. Wait, I said. I looked at Melissa, at this woman who'd once been my closest cousin, who I'd helped get her first design clients, who'd been in my wedding party at my sister's ceremony as my bridesmaid. I need to know why, I said. The real why. Melissa looked up, mascara streaming down her face. You left, she whispered. You got that fancy job, and you moved to the nice part of town, and you changed. You weren't one of us anymore. And everyone kept asking me why I couldn't be more like you, why I couldn't make something of myself like Cousin Lily. I was so tired of being compared to you. So instead of talking to me, instead of asking for help, you decided to destroy me? I thought if I took your place, I'd finally be good enough. If I could just be you, everyone would love me the way they loved you. She laughed bitterly. But even pretending to be you, I couldn't measure up. You're right, I said. You couldn't, because I would never do what you did. I turned to my parents. Here's what's going to happen. Melissa is going to pay back every penny she stole. From you, from my colleagues, from everyone. If she has to work 3 jobs for the next decade, she'll pay it back. And she's going to confess everything to everyone she lied to. And if she doesn't, my mother asked, then I press charges. Wire fraud, identity theft, elder fraud. Marcus estimates she'd get 5 to 10 years. Melissa was nodding frantically. I'll do it. Whatever you want, please. I also want a written confession, notarized, detailing every lie you told and every dollar you took. And you're going to therapy, real therapy, to figure out why you thought any of this was acceptable. Over the next few weeks, Melissa made good on the first part. She signed the confession. She met with my former colleagues, with the man she'd catfished, with each member of my family, and apologized. She set up payment plans for the money she'd stolen. She posted a public apology on social media, explaining that she'd created fake accounts and spread malicious lies about me. My mother called me every day, sometimes just to hear my voice, sometimes crying apologies. My father came to my apartment and helped me hang shelves, not saying much, but his presence speaking volumes. Jason and Emma invited me to be a bridesmaid in their wedding, a role that should have been mine all along. The money came back slowly. Melissa sold her car, moved into a tiny studio, took on freelance work around the clock. She'd send my parents small checks every week, never enough, but always something. My colleagues were less forgiving. 2 of them filed civil suits, but they appreciated that I'd uncovered the fraud. 6 months later, I was back at Sunday dinner when my phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Melissa, I know you probably hate me. I hate me too. But I want you to know I'm in therapy, really working on it. And I understand if you never forgive me, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make this right. You didn't have to give me a chance to fix this. You could have just destroyed me. Thank you. I showed my mother the text. Are you going to respond? She asked. I thought about it. About the year I'd lost, about the pain she'd caused, about the trust she'd shattered. But I also thought about the cousin who'd once stayed up all night with me practicing my college interview, who'd made me laugh during my grandmother's funeral, who'd been part of my life before bitterness and jealousy had twisted her into someone unrecognizable. Me. Keep working on yourself. Maybe someday we can talk. But not today. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was the truth. My mother squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you. You could have ruined her completely. I thought about it, I admitted. God knows I wanted to. But destroying her wouldn't have given me back what she took. Getting my family back, that's what mattered. We never should have doubted you, my father said from across the table. We should have asked you, should have given you a chance to defend yourself. No, I said. You shouldn't have had to. You should have known me well enough to know I'd never say those things. That's what hurt the most, that you believed I could. The silence that followed was heavy but necessary. How do we fix that? Jason asked quietly. Time, I said. Trust isn't rebuilt in a day, but we're here, together, and that's a start. A year after that terrible text message, I was promoted to vice president. My parents came to the celebration dinner my company threw, dressed in their best clothes, beaming with pride. My mother gave a speech about how I'd always been ambitious, always been kind, always been true to myself. And when someone tried to take that away from her, she said, her voice strong, she didn't just fight back. She fought smart. She proved who she really was. That's my daughter. I cried through the applause. That night, alone in my apartment, I looked at my mother's text from that awful Tuesday. I'd never deleted it. I'd kept it as a reminder, not of the pain, but of what I'd survived, of what I'd reclaimed. Then I opened a new message to my mother. Me. I love you, Mom. Her response came immediately. Mom, I love you more than words can say, baby. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for being exactly who you are. I finally deleted that first text. I didn't need the reminder anymore. I knew who I was. I knew who my family was, flaws and all. And I knew that sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. It's about restoration. It's about fighting for what matters and refusing to let someone else's darkness dim your light. Melissa was still paying back her debts, still in therapy, still working to become someone better than she'd been. I didn't know if she'd succeed. That wasn't my responsibility. My responsibility was to keep being Lily Hartwell, daughter, sister, friend, professional, survivor. The woman my parents raised me to be, flaws and strengths and all. And that, in the end, was the best revenge of all. Not destroying the person who'd hurt me, but refusing to let them destroy me. I poured myself a glass of wine, looked out at the city lights from my apartment window, and smiled. Tomorrow was another Sunday dinner, another chance to laugh with my family, to share our weeks, to be together. Some people might say I should have sent Melissa to prison, that I was too soft, but they hadn't seen my mother's face when she hugged me again for the first time. They hadn't heard my father's voice crack when he told me he was proud of me. They hadn't felt what I felt, that having my family back, having the truth known, having my life restored, was worth more than any punishment I could inflict. Melissa's punishment was living with what she'd done. Mine was living well despite it. And in the end, that made all the difference.